massive coal piles right there that you can see. Piled up around the CSX terminal here in Curtis Bay, Baltimore. All right, welcome everyone to another special on-the-ground episode of Working People, a podcast about the lives, jobs, dreams, and struggles of the working class today. Brought to you in partnership with In These Times magazine and the Real News Network, produced by Jules Taylor and made possible by the support of listeners like you. I'm recording this on Monday, June 10th. It's about 2:30 in the afternoon here. We are at the Curtis Bay Rec Center in Curtis Bay, which is a community here in South Baltimore, where residents of Curtis Bay and other South Baltimore communities are gathered here to deliver evidence and testimonials to CSX Transportation, the rail giant, in response to CSX's statements denying that their coal export terminal causes harmful pollution.
What do we want? Air to breathe. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? Air to breathe. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? Air to breathe. What do we want it? Now.
And so we're here today to say you are going to be held accountable. This is happening. People testifying about what it's like living next to this coal pier. Dust is getting in their homes. Dust is getting in their lungs. And they're afraid of what it means for their health. And that is a problem in itself. And not only that we had amazing students and amazing universities that came together to help us do a coal report that was launched that talked about coal is in the community. So not only do we have those testimonies, but we also have that research, which people always say, you need this research. To some people like myself, the stories is enough. The testimonies are enough. But we did do that too. And still, that was not enough. That isn't enough. And so we're here to say, no more. This is enough. We're giving you the testimonies. We're giving you the research. And they're still saying, that's flawed. That's not true. That's not true. And it is true. And that is all we need to know to be here today. And so today, what we want to do, first of all, we're going to let them know we're not going anywhere. You're going to have to change. The minimum things you can do is in the transition of stepping away from coal, because we know it's going to happen. Cover up the coal here. Cover it up. That's the least you can do to say you're working with communities. If you want to take a step in that direction, which they haven't done yet, but that's a way to show that they're trying to minimum be good sportsmanship, but they're not. And so if they minimum can't do that, and then also stand with people that we want to phase coal out. Coal is not even an industry that's going to last long anyway. It should have been phased out a long time ago. And so we're also going to evict them. We're going to evict them today. And evict them. Evict the excess today. But another thing that we want to say is that there was a settlement that did happen to that tune of $1.7 million for residents, which is a win, yes. But it's not really a win when you look at how much money this corporation has. It has billions of dollars. This is a slap on the wrist. And if this is the only slap that they're going to get, they're going to keep doing what they're doing. And so that's not enough. That's not enough at all. It's not enough to cover the health damages that's happening to people. It's not enough to cover the experiences that people aren't getting. To simply open their window and feel a breeze. Those experiences are missing in this community. And there's communities that probably can't even imagine what that feels like. But it is time to not imagine it anymore because it's time to say no more. We want to open windows. Windows should be open. People should feel a breeze. People should feel comfortable walking in their community and not worrying about what they're breathing in. And so we're here today to say enough is enough. We're not here again to do the same thing we done last time. We're not going to go, oh, let me tell you all these stories again. We're not going to be like, let me tell you about this research again. We're actually going to play those testimonies that already been stated by people, right? We're not going to keep having them repeating themselves. So we're going to play those testimonies, and we're actually going to do that in silence. For them to say, like, your story is enough. That's all that matters, right? If they want to worry about the research, they can look at the research. It's available. And then in that moment, we also, again, we want to tell those stories. And then since those stories have been told, the research has been done, like I said, we're going to evict them. So we're going to put those signs up. We got lungs out here today to remind them, like, this is what people are afraid of. Those lungs are black. People are afraid of that.
I want to say thank you for everybody coming out today, for sticking through with this fight, even though sometimes it feels like we're not getting any traction and we're not going to win. We are going to win this. Unfortunately, this has been generational, and this has gone on too long. And for me, the next place we need to take this is to Annapolis. We need to fight in Annapolis because we need to let these people know that we're tired of fighting in our own community and not getting anywhere. We're tired of saying the same thing time and time again and no one doing nothing about it. I want to be able to breathe clean air. I want my grandson to be able to breathe clean air. I want everybody in this community to be able to breathe clean air. And it's time to say enough's enough, and it's a time to evict CSX out of this community, just along as the other industries in this community. Thank you.
Hey guys, I'm Angie, and I've lived in this community for 17 years. I've not opened my windows for 17 years. Time is over. You know, I'd like to open my windows and breathe fresh air, but I can't. We don't have it here. We need it here. Yeah, like, you know, I'm just done. How dare them even discount our citizen science with Johns Hopkins? Hello. Where did their people come from, you know? Like, no. Like, we worked hard, and it's proof that we deal with it every single day. Just 2 days ago, I was watching out my back window and saw the coal wafting off of the coal pile, but their coal is not in Curtis Bay. It's from Sparrows Point. No, just no. You know, and we're done. We're really done. Let's get this out of here. Let's breathe clean air now, guys.
No more coal in Curtis Bay!
Thank you guys for the invite. My name is Angela Smothers, and I'm from Mount Winans, experiencing the same issues that ongoing here. I'm a lifelong resident of Mount Winans. Before the last interview, guys, they said you didn't even look up. Well, I want to look up to each camera now to let you know that this isn't a fight that is going away. I even went as far as to bring my medication. I will give each, including CSX, the opportunity to go into my medical records so they can see where this is not medication for, you know, an allergy medicine. I mean, a seasonal allergy medication. This is something that I'm required to take every day. If you can hear my voice, I didn't take my medication today on purpose because I want you guys to hear what I sound like not being able to take. It's as if I'm like having to get an extra wind to be able to speak, to breathe. I shouldn't have to live like this.
That's right.
So I'm CSX, cameras, every camera, where? I want you guys to know that I am an open book. You will see that I was a healthy person, you know, living in Mount Winans, enduring all of these issues that's taking effect now. I can't say a name, but I have a friend of mine that I grew up with that's dying now in hospice now. You know what I mean, from cancer. You know, from living in the community that I share, Mount Winans, that's also experiencing the transporting of the coal untarped. We know you're not going anywhere, but you can definitely help us live a more productive, healthier lifestyle. You have the resources to do so, and all we ask that you stop taking profit more serious than the people that is living amongst, you know what I mean, the way that you transport the coals that you're making billions, trillions. You know, that's all we want. We're not trying to put anyone, because we know people do make a living off of, you know, that your railways. However, just help us live a little longer. Help us be able to see our grandbabies, you know, fight another fight. But this fight right here, it's been ongoing. I'll be 57 if I'm lucky, June the 17th. And to be subjected to, you know, what I'm subjected to for 57 years of my life, it's time for it to end. CSX, you gotta go. If you can't work with us, you gotta go.
Now we've heard from residents that live here in those testimonies. Again, sorry for you guys to keep repeating yourselves. You shouldn't have to. You should have been heard the first time. But now we're going to talk about some of these amazing students, which I want everybody to put your hands together for all of the students that's here. They're not just here today just showing up as a body. They have been doing the work, okay? They have been getting to it. And that's why we're going to have Velma come up here and tell you guys some of the work they've been doing and how they're moving science in this community.
Hello, my name is Roma Gutierrez, and I am really happy to be here. I am from Brooklyn, Baltimore, which is right adjacent from Curtis Bay. I've grown up here like my whole life. So, I'm an environmental organizer and a youth leader working with South Baltimore Community Land Trust, and they partnered up with Charmed last year with Johns Hopkins University. And last summer, a group and a youth, we went to like different places in South Baltimore, and we researched lifelong community questions for CSX because they have been harming the community for so many decades. We needed evidence for this. So we had the questions were how far, how fast, and if it was detectable, if the coal dust was detectable off-site, CSX coal terminal and near the train tracks. So we had different methods. We had tape strip methods and we had tape samples. We had them up for at least a month and to see if the coal dust was accumulating in the South Baltimore. And it was accumulating in South Baltimore. We found that they were accumulating. You could actually see the coal dust on the tape strips. And we tested it on an electron microscopic, and we do have scientific evidence that it was detectable. And we want to stop this. We want to stop it now. We had it last year, but now we can actually stop it. Go green, and yeah.
Y'all give it up again for them and all that work they did. They did the science behind the testimonies, right? And we thank y'all for that. We thank y'all for stepping up and showing out everything y'all do. And they are here today. That just shows you how important this issue is, right? Look around. Look at all the people you see. This issue is important because it's affecting all of us. Even if you don't directly live in Curtis Bay. This is being transported throughout the city. So no matter where you live, the air is gonna flow, you know? You're breathing in the same air we are breathing in. So this is your fight just as much as it's ours.
How's everybody doing today? That's good. I'm really excited and really happy to see how many people showed up with that small amount of time we had. But just a few words, you know, this is like Shashawnda said, today is the day that we're evicting CSX. So, you know, we gotta say it loud, say it proud. This is our community, this is our home, and we have to continue putting pressure on facilities like this for our sake, for our health, for the health of our communities, for our kids, for our families. You know, this is a fight long from over, and together we'll be able to accomplish so much. And we'll start off with this march, you know. We gotta stand strong, we gotta stand together for the Curtis Bay, for the South Baltimore. We have to remove CSX for the health of our communities.
People united shall never be defeated. The people united shall never be defeated. The people united shall never be defeated. Curtis Bay united shall never be defeated. Curtis Bay united shall never be defeated.
My name's Angie Shaneyfelt. I live in Curtis Bay. I've lived here for 17-ish years. I'm married with a husband that's older than me and twin girls that are 11 that we're adopting. Hopefully at the end of it, we'll see. And I've just been fighting this since the explosion in 2021.
Well, Angie, yeah, thank you. But you've been like, as everyone here can attest, yourself included, like, you've been dealing with it long before that.
Right. Very long before it. I have not opened my windows in 17 years or 16 years.
Tell me a little bit more about that. Like, I guess just for folks, you know, who are listening to this, who heard the first episode that we did with your neighbors from South Baltimore, which you were supposed to be on with us, but then your phone died. So folks are getting to meet you finally now. But I wanted to ask if we could just do a kind of shortened version of like your history in Curtis Bay and how you've been like dealing with this up until the explosion in 2021, and then how that got you into the fight.
Yeah, well, we moved here because this is where our money took us. Like, I grew up in Pasadena, not too far from here, and then lived on the other side of the bridge, you know, on the tunnel in Middle River, Essex, and then landed here just because that's what we could afford. A whole house for $2 more than the apartment we were living in, right? And we opened our windows the first year we're here because that's what you do on a nice day, no matter where you live in America or wherever. And then we realized that we are having this black dust in our house on everything, carpet, on upholstery, you know, all of it. And so then it was just, you get tired of being tired of cleaning, you know, everything on a daily basis. So, and wiping down everything. So it came down to just, we don't open the windows anymore. And then now the bridge collapsed. And we actually did open our windows, which is weird. And we were like, oh, yeah. You know, we didn't even realize it, but the air felt different. It wasn't as heavy as it had been for so long.
Well, can you say a little more for that for folks who are not in Baltimore? So, like, so since the Francis Scott Key Bridge collapsed 2 months ago, what has that meant for you all here in South Baltimore?
It's meant a little bit quieter. We still hear the trains, but not as much. While the channel was shut down, because it's now open, but less train noise, less just coal in the air, like just blowing around. It's just crazy. I didn't realize it at first until I think it was last month, we were at a community meeting, and another community member said, I actually got to open my windows. And I was just like, oh yeah, like we did that too, you know, like you're living your everyday. And there was like, just the heaviness was lifted for just that little bit. And then of course, like the next week, the channel's open and we're hearing the trains again. And I watched a coal pile. I live right up the street, direct line sight from the coal pile. And it sat for for the 2 months. And it didn't go down and go back up. But then it did get a little bit, like, I guess they were still collecting it to be shipped out. And it did get as high as it could possibly get. And then in a day, it was gone.
Wow.
Just to be filled back up 2 days after that.
And because I mean, like,
it's, you know,
because the channel's like shut down, so like that's where a lot of this coal's going. Right?
And even it's crazy because not too far from here is where they line the train cars up, the open air train cars, and it was weird even to see, like that was even less, like that the Francis Scott Key Bridge collapsed. Didn't completely shut them down because they had still heard it and the lines go through or whatever. But it was just a pause. And then I saw on the news that they were boasting about how while they were shut down, they were able to like regroup and make it to where they can ship out even more than what they already were doing. Like, really? Like, how much more do we have to take, really? Like, I mean, I'm thinking of moving in 2 years to buy a house. Is it going to be in Curtis Bay? Absolutely 100%, 110% not.
And and I mean,
but I'll still be here. I'm still rooted here. I'm still connected here. So I'll still fight the fight, even though I'm not in the community. So.
Yeah, because I mean, how much of this can any one person or any one family or any one community take when, like, how sick and twisted is that where we live in a country where you got to hope that like a bridge collapses in your city so that the coal traffic coming through the pier and into your community is like decreased for just 2 months so that you can open your window.
Can have a little bit of clean air. Not completely, but a little bit of clean air, you know, like Go out and breathe. What fresh air?
Mm-hmm.
Really, what fresh air? Because we have none.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so
And that's like, again, it's literally present around you and me right now because we are standing here at the Curtis Bay Community Center. It is a lovely day.
It is, and it's windy. And I'm sure if these white buildings were not here, I just saw it Saturday looking out my back door. My husband noticed it. The wind was blowing, and it was the pile. You could physically see the dust just swooping up.
Jeez,
and just blowing. He was like, "Ange, come look at this. The coal is just, the dust is flying." And he doesn't pay attention to anything outside the four walls of our house. So that's for him to notice.
Yeah.
Like, no offense to him, but he is, older, and he doesn't care about. Unless there's fire engine lights outside of our door, then he kind of, what is that? And I'm the one that goes out and looks,
But that's like, again, all to the point that like you can't even enjoy a beautiful day like this with your community, like without worrying about what you're inhaling.
Right. And am I going to have an asthma attack? My kids have seasonal asthma. You add coal and pollen, and that's not anything anybody want. Like, just the stickiness of that into your lungs, like, I've had to do inhalers.
Yeah.
When I never had to before.
One of the most tragic lines from that podcast I did with some of your neighbors a couple weeks ago was from a woman who said, like, I know so many people who walk around with oxygen tanks.
Yeah. Oxygen tanks. We don't go, like, my kids don't go on field trips without carrying an inhaler with them just in case, because they're going somewhere else outside of here, and it's almost like a dome effect. They're gonna be breathing in fresh air, so when you get fresh air in, it's got to make room, and you're gonna be coughing up stuff possibly. So
well, and I know I got to let you go in a second, but like I wanted to just ask, like, if you could say a little more about how the peer explosion in 2021, like, I guess for listeners who will link to some articles about it in the show notes, but like, can you just take us back to that moment and what it meant for you and getting into the fight, and like what you were doing here today, like what the purpose of this gathering is?
Well, to start, I had COVID on that day. I was it was when they had the 10-day quarantine. I lost my sense of smell, and you'll see why that's so important in a second when I tell you what happened. In the sense, so my one daughter and myself both had COVID, 10th day of quarantine, and I was just in my house, so I'm doing what I can, just not go insane in one bedroom.
I've been there, sister.
So I came downstairs. I'm standing in my living room. I think I came down to get like a trash bag or something. I don't know. And I'm standing in my living room, and you could feel it. Windows are closed, mind you, because we don't open windows. You could feel it like a sonic boom. So you felt the pressure, and it was just increasing and I'm standing in my house in the middle and I'm looking around, and I'm just like, what is going on? And then I heard it, the boom, and I'm like 3 blocks up and 1 block over from where it exploded at. And then I'm doing the mental checks that I know that I've done before in this community for other things. And I'm just like looking around. I'm like, okay, the electric's on. That's fine. There's no busted windows. That's fine. There's nobody shooting outside of my house. Okay, I think I'm fine. And then I look, and my husband, I'm in quarantine. So he went to Dunkin' for a Dunkin' run, and he had just wrecked a car a little bit prior to that. So it was even a thing for him to be even driving, And so I look at my kids, and my one daughter's looking at me like she doesn't know. She's like looking for direction without saying anything. My other daughter mentally checked out. She doesn't do fireworks very well. Even before this, she doesn't do balloons very well. And I had to tap her on her chin 3 times to say, it's okay. It's okay. And she was, when I looked in her eyes, she was not there. And that's the scariest thing that I've ever even experienced in my life. Like, I'll take anything over that,
Yeah.
you know, because what do I have to deal with past that? So then my husband later had said that when he was driving up the hill, it felt like the back tires of the car lifted up off the ground. And with him just wrecking a car, he got out when he turned, he got out and he checked all the way around the car to make sure everything was fine. I don't know if it actually lifted up because I wasn't there, but yeah, like it was just insane. So just that, and that's what drove me to, like, her being mentally checked out was what drove me to the city council hearing. And they even wrote notes. They're 11 now, so 3-4 years ago they were like 10, 7, 8. So they wrote notes that I read in the city council hearing of their impact, you know, and she made a sign for today. You know, CSX or MDE, let us breathe.
Get off it! This planet's not for profit! That's bullshit! Get off it! This planet's not for profit! That's bullshit! Get off it! This planet's not for profit!
I am Shashawnda Campbell, and I work with the South Baltimore Community Land Trust.
Shashawnda, thank you so much for chatting with me today. And we are standing here at the Curtis Bay Rec Center talking about, you know, what this community can do to keep this coal dust out of their lungs, out of their homes. I was wondering if you could just say a little more to the folks who are listening to this about you, where we are, what y'all are fighting for, and what they need, what folks in Baltimore and outside of Baltimore need to know about why we're here today.
All right, we are here today because just like any community, your family's community, and just communities that you know, we are fighting to keep this community safe. We are fighting because this community has been dealing with the brunt of coal dust getting everywhere in the community. In their homes, they can't open their windows and just have a nice breeze on their face in the springtime. They can't do that. And that's a problem when people can't simply open their windows in communities. And we brought that forward for many, many years. We've been saying that, and nothing happened. And so since the explosion that happened at CSX Coles Pier in 2021, people have been taking so many steps to be proactive to say they don't want another explosion. We learned from the first time, we don't need an explosion to say that this coal dust is getting out to communities. We don't need an explosion to say that coal is explosive. It can explode. And so we are really trying to hold CSX accountable to the, not only just that explosion, which they are saying, yes, that happened, but to the constant coal dust that's getting out and into people's houses, into people's lungs, that they're worried about. They're scared to say, like, what's happening to me when I'm breathing in all this coal dust? And so we're here to say that enough is enough. And we had done a report working with students from the local high school, Ben Franklin, where I went, and where a lot of the amazing students that's here today goes. We have worked with them, and then universities, like Hopkins was one of them, the Bloomberg School, and then also just many scientists around coal to make sure that we can actually determine that coal dust is in the community. And we've done that, and we put that report out. And CSX is saying that it's flawed, that it is incomplete, and that it's not true. And that's not okay. And so we're here to say it is true, first of all. And you hear these stories and testimonies from people that's telling you it's true. That's enough. We also done a Title VI complaint to say, first of all, a Title VI complaint, not about necessarily the coal, but just around the incinerator that's here.
Yeah, there's a whole other lot of pollution out here.
Right? But all of these things are actually a problem together because what it is doing is creating a cumulative impacts, right? Where it's not, we don't know who's doing what, right? But with the coal, it's not a mystery to know what this black substance is. We know it's coal dust, right? And so it's a direct linkage between that. And we want them to stand firm in that. And we also want them to pay for it. You have to pay for the damages that you're causing. And to pay for something, you have to admit you're doing it. And they did have a settlement that just came out to the tune of $1.7 million to residents and the residents to be able to get some of that money for that explosion that happened. But that's not enough to $1 billion company. That's nothing. That's a slap on the wrist. And it's also not accounting for the constant coal dust that's getting off their premises into communities, which is hazardous because coal is a hazardous material, which anyone will say. And so we are really here to say, first of all, you need to be held accountable, and we need our city to also hold them accountable. We need our city to stand with us to say, this is not okay. That explosion had brought to our eyes that this is not safe for communities. They've been right all this time. And so what we're doing today is telling them, if you're not going to change, at minimum, cover up the coal. That's minimum you can do. That's a direct thing you can do to show residents that you are listening to them and that you want to actually be helpful in the community. But they're not going to do that. Because they don't want to be. They want to do whatever they want to do. They want to allow the coal dust to happen and not be held accountable. And we're saying today, that's not going to happen. You're going to be held accountable or you're going to get out of the community. That's the goal of today. And we're super excited to have everyone out here to read that same message.
When a law is under attack, what do? Stand up, fight back! When the air we breathe is under attack, what do? Stand up, fight back! When the water we drink is under attack, what do? Stand up, fight back! When the planet we need is under attack, what do? Stand up, fight back! What do? Stand up, fight back!
I wanted to speak a bit about the international implications of this, because this is the same playbook they do in the Philippines, they do in Congo, they do in South America. It is the same tactics over and over to put profit over the people. Yes. In the Philippines, where we see foreign companies putting in their mining operations and the runoff poisoning the soil of farmers who don't even own their land, they can't even eat the food they grow, much less even keep it, because most of it is exported. We see when profit is put over the people, our everyday lives, like people are saying here, you can't even open the window to enjoy the weather, to even breathe in the place you live in. So I wanted to speak today and thank you for hosting this event, but also show a support of solidarity across the oceans, across national borders. Climate change, these horrible things that companies will put our communities through will not benefit us, and is only benefiting a few, small percent of the population that are going to have so much more wealth than they will ever know what to do with. They are not the ones that keep our world together, to keep us running together, to keep us healthy. We are the ones that do that together here today, and thank you all for coming out.
Anybody else want to say anything?
Once, going twice.
And first of all, I just want to concur to that message. I want to say I agree wholeheartedly. This is not only a Baltimore issue. This issue is across many cities and states, and even international. We see the same problem. But I want to thank you all. First, I want to say I'm sorry. I'm sorry you have to be here today. I'm sorry this is happening. I want to say that first and foremost because I don't want to romanticize this in any way. It's a terrible thing. It's very terrible. But I do thank you guys for also being the people that's feeling the burden of these systems and then also being out here marching on the front line. Y'all are doing the thing. So I want to congratulate you guys for taking back your communities, no matter where your community is. Even if your community ain't in South Baltimore. Right. You take back your communities because, like you said, we take care of each other. We care about our house. We are here for people. When they are putting profit of us, we are putting ourselves over that profit. So I thank you all for standing here today. I don't want to make y'all stand too much longer, but we do got to march back. So we're going to start hitting back, y'all. If y'all feel any spirit to jump on this mic, I'll pass the mic. So just let me know whenever y'all feel that spirit. All right, is y'all ready? I'm going to need y'all to be louder than that. We're here to stop comedy. We need them hands. Y'all ready? Is we ready? All right, what do we want? No coal! Okay. What do we want? No coal! When do we want it? Now! And if we don't get it, shut it down! Shut what down, y'all? Where we at? Yeah! Let's go, y'all. Let me see some quick. If we don't get it, shut it down! If we don't get it, shut it down! All right, y'all, let's get the
My name is Carlos Sanchez. I am a youth leader with the South Baltimore Community Land Trust.
My name is Maria Urbina. I'm just a resident around here supporting the cause.
Hell yeah. Well, it's great to meet you in person. Listeners of the show will recognize you from the last episode. Got to chat with Angie, another one of your neighbors here in South Baltimore, before the march, and we just concluded the march. We are back here at the Curtis Bay Rec Center after marching with dozens of folks to the CSX rail terminal, where residents and supporters issued an eviction notice to CSX saying, get out, no more coal, no more poisoning our communities. Talk to us a bit about what we just saw here happen and why it's important.
Yeah, of course. Well, what you just saw here today was the amount of support that is here in the community, not just in the community, but outside of the community. You know, this is something that is affecting the community, is affecting everybody. And you're kind of seeing how everybody came together in such a short amount of time. I think it was like a week ago that we started, but it's, it's powerful to see how many people came out in the short amount of time for the cause, to get CSX out of the community. We have community signs done. We had support and stuff to show that what people are breathing in and what have been breathing in for decades, it's true. It's true what people are saying. They're breathing in coal dust, and we know that there is no amount of particulate matter or coal dust that is safe to be breathing in. And having people out here all wanting the same thing, which is CSX to go, and have the state to do something about this, really shows a lot. This is something that all residents, not just in Curtis Bay, but in all South Baltimore, Lakeland, Cherry Hill, Mount Winans, Westport, all the South Baltimore communities are facing, not just with the terminal, but with the rail cars. And so, this is one march out of many. It's still a start, and it's still a long way to go. But at the end of the day, this is all about getting what the community needs, and that's clean air and cleaner communities.
It's really important that CSX gets evicted because they're trying to kick out actual residents of the community when we were here first, and it's not fair that we're having to breathe in the consequences of what they're doing to our air, our community.
Yeah, and I'd like just to add on to that, because what happened was that when somebody talked to Sheila Dixon and asked her about a question like, well, hey, what do you think about the Curtis Bay and the overburden with polluting industries like CSX? And the first response was maybe move everybody out and make it all industrial. That's what happened to Wagner's Point. That's what happened to Hawkins Point. That's what happened to Fairfield. There were 3 communities already there that were completely just moved away, wiped out of existence to make more room for industrial. So if it's just a repetitive thing, why is it, and clearly it's not working, why is it the communities that have to leave? Why is it the people? And at the end of the day, if it's just keep on this repetitive thing where it's just like kick out the communities, you're going to end up kicking out like all of South Baltimore. That was a quote that somebody in the community said. You're just going to end up kicking all of South Baltimore.
We are unstoppable. A better world is possible. 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 We are unstoppable. A better world is possible.
Thank you so much for watching the Real News Network, where we lift up the voices, stories, and struggles that you care about most. And we need your help to keep doing this work. So please tap your screen now, subscribe, and donate to the Real News Network. Solidarity forever.